Last but finally not least, the fourth day of the Combine, we got to see the running backs and the offensive linemen. Let's take a look at the winners and losers. Jets! Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, we were talking a little day 4 of the Combine. That's right. Combine's officially over. We got to take a look at the running backs, the tackles, the guards, and the center. So we'll get into that. If you want to check out any of the other 3-day breakdowns, I'll link those down below in the description. But without further ado, let's hop into some running back, offensive lineman discussions. First up, the running backs. Devine, hopefully I pronounced that right, runs the fastest 40 with a 4.32 40-yard dash. You figure he's one of the top running backs that are going to wind up going in this year's draft, and seeing him put up this time is pretty solid. Now, a lot of people thought he might have had an opportunity to break the actual Combine record, which I believe is 4.22 for the 40-yard dash. So maybe at his pro day, he even runs faster than this 4.3 time. But by and large, this guy just kind of reconfirmed that he may be a late first, early second round pick. Jahmyr Gibbs coming up with a 4.36, and Keaton Mitchell from East Carolina runs a 4.37. Now, that was the showstopper, those really fast times. But I want to take a look at what means the most as far as like the New York Jets are concerned, and that's Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas. This back is phenomenal. And he didn't test at the top of every level, but he was above average for like everything. This guy's going to be the first running back taken. And the reason he's on my list is because there is a very good chance that he could go before the Jets inside the top 12, particularly at the 10 pick with the Philadelphia Eagles. They got that pick from the New Orleans Saints in the trade up to go get Chris Olave. So the Eagles have that pick at number 10. They're projected to really need a running back. They could go out and sign one in free agency, but I think you can get the best one of the bunch, get him on a really cheap deal for the next 5 years. It makes a ton of sense to me, and a running back going in front of the Jets, which is, I think a lot of us would say is probably a position we're not going to target, or at least not very highly, with Breece Hall, Bam Knight, and Michael Carter. So a running back going in front of the Jets, just like quarterbacks and cornerbacks, I want to see these guys rise up draft boards because it only helps the Jets moving forward. Now, offensive line-wise, let's break these up into tackle, guard, and center, and we'll kind of look at it a little bit. It's kind of lumped as like one big offensive line group, but we'll break it down in terms of like tackles and stuff. The first one up the tackle list, Broderick Jones appears to be maybe positioning himself as tackle 1. Now, he's the only tackle, I shouldn't say the only tackle, but he is the tackle in the top 3 that people are considering as far as like the SEC. He goes against the top level of defenders. He's got all the metrics. People are actually comparing him to DeBrickashaw Ferguson from like a stature standpoint, which if the Jets can get DeBrickashaw Ferguson at 13, yep, totally good with that. This is the guy I felt was most likely to be there for the Jets at number 13. Now, maybe that shifts a little bit, and maybe Skoronski or Parrish Johnson slide down boards a little bit as Broderick Jones starts to raise up some boards here. The Jets are going to be looking at a whole bunch of tackles. Clearly with, Mekhi Becton coming back, we're not likely to extend his 5th-year option. I wouldn't think so. We're going into the final year of his deal. Fant, I don't think is being brought back. Dwayne Brown just came back on what's going to ultimately be a 1-year, $9 million contract. And then, what do you do? What do you do? You don't have many people behind that. Max Mitchell has blood clots, so you're going to need a tackle. So if it's not in the first round, at the very least, I would keep an eye on a lot of these players. Now, highlighting-wise, I want to take a look at Blake Freeland out of BYU. Yes, BYU, because clearly we have Zach on the roster. It's someone that might go later on in the draft that you might be able to take advantage of. I think they had him down. Let me see. They had him ranked as a potential 4th-round pick. Now, maybe this pushes him up draft boards a little bit because of his combine, but I would say a 4th-round pick for a tackle that tested this high from a school that he could at least relate to the quarterback we're hoping grooms into a franchise quarterback. I think it's not a bad swing if you're looking in like the 4th round. I still don't love, him as option number one, but I think it's someone to keep an eye on for sure. The other name on this list that I really like is Anton Harrison. He's second place from Oklahoma on the 40-yard dash. That guy's played like every position on the offensive line. Oh no, is that him? Anton Harrison. No, sorry, got my names mixed up. Not the guy I'm looking for. Blake Freeland was the guy. We'll talk about the guards now. So guard testing wise, Osiris Torrance. Top guard in the country. It figures he's going to be the top guy across the board. I don't know if there's someone that's going to be able to overlap him. The player I was talking about that I was interested in, that I goofed on, was Andrew Voorhees. This is the guy from USC that has played across the entire position group of the offensive line. I think the Jets love versatility. He's someone that I would look at the top part of the second round in the event you want to maybe have some reassurance maybe for Laken Tomlinson. You don't trust that he's going to be able to play at his former Pro Bowl level. We might get more of what we saw last year. That's a really big issue. You can't have that. So if you think you can solidify guard while also having that guy that could also play across the formation in a few different capacities, I really like that move. I would assume, I guess he played with Elijah Vera Tucker too, right? So that would be kind of a cool thing. Looks like maybe 1 year, 2 years? I'd have to look. Either way, I like Voorhees as an option. If we do decide to take a look at guard, I would, if the Jets do decide to look at guard, I'm kind of in the ballpark of like a center / guard, so that way they can shift a few different positions, but Voorhees kind of fits that bill. One more note on Osiris Torrance. He got to block for Anthony Richardson, which is not an easy task because you can get penalized for moving down the field preemptively. So if he's running around behind you, you have to make sure you're staying at the line of scrimmage so that way you're not giving your team a penalty. So I think there is some type of, I don't want to say benefit, but some type of skill set that does, take in some capacity. Not that the Jets are necessarily going to do that, but maybe if you're thinking Zach Wilson long-term, Osiris Torrance can hold his blocks. I've heard he's not necessarily a great fit for what we're looking to do. So Voorhees might be the option for a lot more fans here. And then center-wise, we're taking a look at the centers. John Michael Schmitz is the one that everyone is like gushing over. He was the guy at the Senior Bowl, just absolutely lit up testing. He is by far, it appears, to be the number one center on everyone's boards. Could he sneak into the back half of the first round? I think it's possible. I do think that I think it's possible. I think it's more likely he goes in the second round. Centers don't tend to go in the first. If the Jets were to trade down from pick 13 and they wanted to pull the trigger on a center like late 20s, early 30s before the second round, and you wanted to lock in that fifth-year option, I would probably be okay with that considering where we're sort of headed with Mekhi Becton. AVT has 2+ his fifth-year option left, so, I could see a situation where you would want the 5-year rookie contract. To me, I like a lot of the centers in this draft class, and I don't particularly feel that I need to overexert myself to get John Michael Schmitz. I wouldn't be, bummed with it by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Jet fans sort of have their minds wrapped around like, okay, we had Kevin Mawai. Okay, we had Nick Mangold. Okay, we have to take the best center in the draft because we need to have the best center all the time, every time. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case. There's a lot of guys that I do like here. One in particular, Luke Weipler. This is one that's going to be a very popular pick for the New York Jets or for Jet fans in mock drafts. A fan favorite similar to the Jeremy Ruckert pick last year. This guy's going to fill a position in need. He's going to know guys on our team in Garrett Wilson and Jeremy Ruckert. And he's a Jet fan. The fact that this guy is a massive Jet fan, he wore Nick Mangold's number 74 in high school. He is a diehard Jet fan. If you have the opportunity where need and skill set match up and you have, the choice between two particular players, it might be Luke Weipler and it might be whoever else, and one guy is a diehard Jets fan, I'm going to go with the diehard Jet fan because that guy is going to have so much passion for being here and so much more juice. Think about if any of us were to get selected to play for the New York Jets or work for the New York Jets or whatever, you would be over the moon to play for your childhood franchise at the position that you grew up idolizing. Nick Mangold, Luke Weipler, yeah, let's do it. I like this. I always feel like there's a little extra juice there. Jets need to figure out the center position because Connor McGovern is not coming back. It does not seem like the Jets had any sort of conversations with him in his exit interview with trying to re-sign him. I think they understand his market value is going to be somewhere around that $10 to $12 million a year range, and I just don't think he's worth it at that point. I would rather roll the dice on a guy in the, I would go as high as the second round. Third, fourth round would be probably the lowest I'd want to look at a center. But there's a few guys on here. I think John Michael Schmitz, Luke Weipler, Jarrett Patterson didn't test great, so he may be available a little bit later on. He was one of like the top centers in the league last year in college, and wound up going back to school and perceivably shot himself in the foot because, this guy wound up playing guard at college last year. Now he's testing at center. I don't know if I don't know how he sort of shakes out. He's a little scary to me, but that was someone I wanted last year. And then Ricky Stromberg from Arkansas, the 6'3", 306-pounder right there. He's someone I've projected the Jets to go after in the second or third round. I really like him. He's a 4-year starter. I'm losing my mind right now. I think he gave up no sacks, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's 2 sacks in his entire collegiate career. There's a few good centers here. And I don't know if you necessarily have to grab the best one to get a very good center on this team. I really, really like the idea of adding value wherever we can. I like the idea of adding in players that may want to be Jet fans. That gets me all sorts of excited. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the combine, the running backs, the offensive tackles, the linemen. Where do you want the Jets to go? Is there a player that you particularly liked? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.